An old family photo from 1890 shows a scary secret when you look closely. Antique dealer Rebecca Martinez had been going to estate sales for more than 20 years, but something about the big old Victorian house in Salem, Massachusetts made her feel nervous. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, comment your thoughts, and subscribe. The Whitmore home had been closed up for many years after the last family member passed away, with no children to take over. As she walked through the dusty rooms full of old furniture and objects, Rebecca felt pulled toward a fancy wooden frame on the wall in a dark hallway. The picture inside was a usual late 1800s family portrait. A serious-looking family of 5 stood stiffly in their best clothes. The father, a proper man with a thick mustache, stood behind his seated wife, while their 3 children, 2 girls and 1 boy, were placed around them. The year 1890 was written in faded ink at the bottom of the frame. What grabbed Rebecca's eye was not the family, but how sharp and clear the photo was. Most pictures from 1890 looked rough and blurry, but this one had amazing detail in the clothes, the furniture, and even the wallpaper in the back. She saw that the children's faces looked very tight and worried for a formal picture, with their eyes open wide, like they were hiding fear. Rebecca bought the photo along with some other things, interested in its strange sharpness and the story it might hold. She had no idea this simple family picture would soon show a secret hidden for over 130 years. Back at her antique shop in Boston, Rebecca chose to clean and fix the photo before selling it. When she gently took it out of the frame, she saw the picture was printed on very thick paper for that time. Using a strong magnifying glass to check its condition, she looked at the small details more carefully. The first strange thing she noticed was how the family was positioned. In normal Victorian portraits, people had to stay completely still for a long time because of slow camera shutters, but this family looked like they moved a tiny bit. The mother's hand was a little blurry, as if she was shaking, and the youngest child's eyes looked away from the camera instead of straight ahead. But the real shock came when Rebecca looked at the background. In the big mirror on the wall behind the family, there was a reflection that did not match the room. Instead of showing the photographer or his camera, the mirror showed several dark shapes standing where the photographer should have been. Rebecca moved her magnifying glass closer and stared harder. The shapes in the mirror wore dark clothes and seemed to hold ropes or something to tie people. Her hands started to tremble as she understood this might not be a normal family photo at all. She quickly called her friend, Dr. James Harrison, a history expert in 1800s photography at Harvard University. Dr. Harrison came to her shop the next day, not fully believing her but interested. As he studied the photo with better tools, his face became more and more serious. He said the photo was surely from 1890, but the way it was taken was very unusual. The clear quality showed it came from a skilled photographer who had the best tools of that time. His close look found more upsetting things. The children's clothes, though nice and costly, looked quickly put on. Buttons were in the wrong holes, and the little girl's dress was wrinkled like someone else dressed her fast. Even worse were the faint marks on the father's wrists that looked like burns from ropes or being tied up. Dr. Harrison started looking into the Whitmore family past. Old records showed Edmund Whitmore was a rich man who made money from textile factories during the tour. Industrial years. His wife, Catherine, came from a good Boston family. They had 3 children, Margaret, 14, William, 12, and little Emma, 8. The family lived in the Salem house since 1885. What Dr. Harrison found next made him feel cold. Newspaper stories from October 1890 said the whole Whitmore family had disappeared without any sign. Their vanishing was big news in Boston papers for weeks. The house was found with doors open and no marks of fighting, as if the family just left everything. No bodies turned up. No notes or anything. No bodies turned up. The mystery stayed one of Massachusetts' biggest unsolved cases. With this new information, Dr. Harrison reached out to Detective Sarah Chen, an expert in old unsolved cases with the Massachusetts State Police. When Sarah looked at the photo and heard everything, she decided to start an unofficial look into the Whitmore disappearance right away. Sarah's first move was to let forensic experts check the photo with today's digital tools. The results were even more frightening than expected. Computer checks showed the figures in the mirror were not just shadows or mistakes in the picture. They were real people, and they looked like they were holding or threatening someone just out of the camera's sight. Even scarier was finding what seemed like a hidden message in the photo. Using special imaging methods, experts saw tiny scratches on the mirror's wooden frame that spelled "Help us" when light hit them the right way. The scratches looked made on purpose, like someone tried to leave a secret note. The forensic team also saw signs the photo was taken very fast, maybe when people were scared. Unlike usual Victorian pictures that needed everyone to stay still for seconds, this one caught small face movements and shakes that showed the family was under great pressure. As the photo session went on, Sarah started to think this was not a family portrait at all, but proof of a crime happening, maybe taken by the bad people as a keepsake or to show others. Sarah looked at old court papers and business files from the 1890s. What she found drew a dark picture of Edmund Whitmore's last months. His cloth business was failing because of worker problems and bad money choices. More important, Whitmore had borrowed large amounts from some investors who had shady pasts and maybe links to crime groups. In the months before the family vanished, Whitmore got many threatening letters asking for the money back. The letters, kept in old court files about the estate, had stronger and meaner warnings against his family if he did not pay. One letter even said they would make an example of the Whitmores to scare other people who owed money. Sarah also learned a professional photographer named Marcus Crane was hired to take pictures of houses being taken over because of debts around Massachusetts at that time. Crane's photos were often used by money collectors to list valuable things before taking them. More worrying was that Crane himself disappeared from Boston in late 1890, close to when the Whitmore family went missing. The clues were coming together into a terrible story. The photos seemed to be proof of the family held against their will, maybe taken to show other people in debt that the threats were serious. The high quality and expert look of the photo helped the idea that Marcus Crane took it, while forced, maybe as part of working with the crime group. Sarah's search into Marcus Crane showed a sad story of a man stuck between his love for good photography and being pushed by criminals. Crane had been one of Boston's best-known photographers, famous for new ideas and beautiful work, but money troubles made him take more risky jobs to care for his family. Court papers showed Crane was arrested a few times in 1889 for debts, and was seen with bad people who used his picture skills for scaring others and keeping records. Letters saved in the Massachusetts Historical Society, written by Crane's wife to her sister, told of her husband's growing fear and worry as he got pulled deeper into danger. The last letter from Mrs. growing fear and worry as he got pulled deeper into danger. The last letter from Mrs. Crane, written just days before he vanished, was especially sad. Marcus came home last night, shaking and white. He said they asked him to do something awful, something against all he stands for. He's so afraid, but he says he has no other way. I worry for our family if he says no, but I worry for his soul if he does it. These letters suggested Crane was made to photograph the Whitmore family while they were held, maybe to prove the power of the creditors and how far they would go. The clear quality of the photo now felt dark. It was meant to be kept as a warning to others, which is why it lasted so long and showed such scary details when looked at closely. As Sarah kept digging, she found signs of what might have been the Whitmore family's last hours. Old property papers showed unknown people visited the Salem house in the days before the family disappeared. Neighbors said they saw carriages come at strange times and heard upset sounds from inside. A big find came when Sarah searched the house basement with modern tools and found a hidden space. Inside were things that belonged to the Whitmore children: toys, clothes, and most important, a small diary from 14-year-old Margaret Whitmore. The last pages in the diary were written in a scared, shaky way. Margaret's words from October 1890 told a terrible tale. Strange men kept coming to the house, threatening her father and asking for money he could not give. The family lived in fear for weeks, with the children not allowed to go out or talk to anyone nearby. Margaret wrote about her father's growing panic and her mother's endless crying. The very last entry from the day the photo was taken was hard to read. They came back today with a man who takes pictures. Papa is crying. They made us put on nice clothes and said we must smile for the picture. Mama tells us to be strong. I can hear them talking about what comes next. I'm afraid we won't see morning again. If anyone finds this, please remember us as we really were, not how they want us to seem. This diary proved Sarah's worst thoughts about the photo. It was taken as a record of the family's last time together, before they were killed, to warn others who owed money. Sarah's work grew to show an organized group that collected debts through fear, harm, and killing. The Whitmore case was not the only one. Old records showed several other rich families who could not pay loans to the same people also vanished in strange ways during the 1880s and 1890s. In every case, the pattern was the same: growing threats, keeping the family shut in, then total disappearance with no trace. The most upsetting part was finding that some of these families' old homes had hidden photos and personal items too, showing a planned way to remove anyone who knew too much. The crime group seemed run by rich businessmen who used normal companies to hide their illegal lending and forcing people to pay. They hired photographers, lawyers, and others to record things and make their work look legal. When people could not pay, the whole family was killed to scare everyone else. Sarah saw that the Whitmore photo was proof of one of the smartest and cruelest crime groups in 19th century New England. The group worked for decades using fear and violence to control people who owed money, and the Whitmore family became one of their saddest victims. The high quality of the photo now had a clear reason. It was kept on purpose as a lasting sign of the group's strength and cruelty. Even though the crimes happened over 130 years ago, Sarah felt she had to give the Whitmore family the respect of telling their real story and letting people know what happened to them. Working with the district attorney's office, she made a full report with all the proof of the family's murder and the crime group behind it. The work showed that some people in the crime network kept going into the 1900s, and some of their family members became important people in Boston. No one could be charged after so much time, but telling about their ancestors' crimes caused big shame and led some families to quietly give large amounts of money to groups that helped victims. Sarah also worked with the Massachusetts Historical Society to make sure the Whitmore family's story was recorded and saved properly. Margaret's diary was given to the Society's collection along with the photo and all the proof found. A memorial service was held for the Whitmore family, with some faraway relatives who never knew the true story of what happened to their family. The photo that began as an interesting find in an antique shop turned into key proof that helped solve one of Massachusetts' oldest unsolved cases. Rebecca Martinez gave the photo to the Historical Society, saying she could never feel right keeping it to make money after learning the family story. Dr. Harrison wrote a detailed school paper about the case, which became something students had to read in classes about crime and history in America. The Whitmore case became a famous example of how new technology can solve old crimes and bring peace to families who waited generations without answers. The photo, which first brought curiosity and then fear, became a strong sign of why we must keep old evidence safe and never stop looking for the truth. Sarah's work had bigger effects on studying past crimes. The ways used to check the Whitmore photo were used on other mysterious vanishings from that time, helping solve more old cases. The Massachusetts State Police started a special unit for old unsolved crimes, with Sarah leading it. Rebecca Martinez used what she learned from the Whitmore photo to speak up for doing the right thing in the antique business. She helped make rules for dealing with old items that might have important history or crime links, so they get checked by police and experts, instead of just sold. The story of the Whitmore family photo reminds us that every old object holds a real human story, and sometimes those stories need justice, even after many years. The scary detail that appeared when the 1890 photo was looked at closely, the proof of a family's last moments, finally let their voices be heard and their sad end be known. Margaret Whitmore's last words in her diary asked to be remembered as they really were, not how others forced them to look. Because of the brave people who would not let their story stay hidden, the Whitmore family is now remembered not just as people caught in fear, but as a caring family, whose lives ended too soon because of greed and cruelty, and whose memory should be kept and honored for years to come. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, comment your thoughts, and subscribe.